Min Seo-jin adjusted her blazer one final time before wheeling herself into the upscale cafe. The accident 3 years ago had changed everything: her mobility, her perspective, but never her determination. As CEO of Aurora Tech, she commanded boardrooms with the same fierce intelligence that had built her company from nothing. Today's blind date, arranged by her persistent mother, felt like another business negotiation she'd rather avoid. The cafe buzzed with afternoon conversations, the gentle hum of success stories and broken dreams floating over expensive coffee. She spotted him immediately: broad shoulders, gentle eyes scanning the entrance with patient attention. Park Jin-woo looked exactly like the photo her mother had shown her, though the picture hadn't captured the genuine warmth in his expression or the slight nervousness in how he straightened his tie. He approached her table with confident steps, then paused, his eyes briefly registering her wheelchair before meeting her gaze directly. No pity, no awkward hesitation, just acknowledgement and respect. "Ms. Min? I'm Jin-woo. Thank you for agreeing to this." His voice carried the weight of sincerity, not the rehearsed politeness she'd expected. "Please, call me Seo-jin, and I should thank you for not running away immediately." Her practiced smile softened into something more genuine. As he settled into the chair across from her, she noticed calloused hands that spoke of honest work, not the manicured softness of her usual business associates. His single father status had been mentioned in passing, something about raising a 7-year-old daughter alone after his wife's death. Another broken person, perhaps, seeking completion in someone else's fractured pieces. The afternoon sun filtered through tall windows, casting golden light across their table, as two wounded souls prepared to discover if healing could be a shared journey. "Tell me about your daughter," Seo-jin said, stirring her Americano slowly. She'd learned that asking about children revealed everything about a person's true character. Jin-woo's entire demeanor transformed, his shoulders relaxing as pride illuminated his features. "Ha-yoon is 7 and she believes she can save the world by drawing pictures of flowers for sad people. Last week she gave one to our neighbor who was crying about losing her job." "Did it work?" The question surprised Seo-jin with its genuine curiosity. Mrs. Kim hung it on her refrigerator and called it her daily dose of sunshine. "So yes, I think it worked perfectly." Jin-woo's laugh held the exhaustion of single parenthood, balanced by infinite love. Seo-jin found herself leaning forward slightly. Most blind dates involved men trying to impress her with expensive watches or business connections. Jin-woo spoke about finger paintings and bedtime stories with the same reverence others reserved for stock portfolios. "What happened to your wife?" The question slipped out before she could stop it, too direct for polite conversation. His hand stilled around his coffee cup. "Cancer, 2 years ago." Ha-yoon asks if mommy can see her drawings from heaven. I tell her yes, always yes. The weight of shared loss settled between them. Different tragedies, similar scars. Seo-jin's accident had taken her legs. Jin-woo's loss had taken his partner in raising their child. Both had learned to carry on when carrying on seemed impossible. "I don't usually do this," she admitted quietly. "Drink coffee? Hard to believe for a CEO. Let people see me as anything other than completely in control." The honesty surprised her, vulnerability creeping past carefully constructed walls. Jin-woo nodded slowly, understanding flickering in his eyes like recognition of a shared language neither had expected to find. "I have a proposition," Seo-jin said, her business mind clicking into gear despite the unexpected emotional connection. "I need a husband for 6 months." Jin-woo nearly choked on his coffee. "Excuse me? My board of directors is old-fashioned. They believe a married CEO appears more stable, more reliable. There's a major acquisition coming up, and my personal life has become a professional liability." She spoke with clinical precision, emotions carefully compartmentalized. "You're asking me to marry you? We just met an hour ago." A contract marriage, purely business. I'll pay off your daughter's medical bills from your wife's treatment. Yes, I had you investigated, standard procedure, and provide a generous monthly allowance. In return, you play the devoted husband at corporate functions. Jinwoo leaned back, studying her face. What about Ha-eun? She'll have the best schools, healthcare, anything she needs. I'm not heartless, Jinwoo. I'm practical. The cafe had grown quieter as afternoon faded into evening. Other patrons filtered out, leaving them in an island of tension and possibility. Seo-jin watched emotions play across his features. Surprise, consideration, protective instinct. Why me? Surely you have better options. Because you don't want anything from me except what I'm offering to give. You're not trying to climb social ladders or gain business connections. You're just a good father who needs help, and I'm a successful woman who needs a respectable image. Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment, fingers tracing patterns on the table. What happens after 6 months? Clean divorce. Generous settlement. You and Ha-eun will be financially secure for life. And if feelings develop? Seo-jin's smile was sharp as broken glass. I don't believe in fairy tales anymore, Jinwoo. Do we have a deal? He looked out the window at the bustling Seoul streets, then back at her determined face. I need to think about it. Jinwoo found Ha-eun in their small apartment's living room, surrounded by crayons and paper, creating her latest masterpiece. The medical bills stacked on his kitchen counter seemed to mock his meager teacher's salary, each envelope a reminder of promises he might not be able to keep. Daddy, look! I drew us at the beach. Ha-eun held up a picture of 2 stick figures building sandcastles. Can we go someday? Please? His heart clenched. The beach vacation she'd been requesting for months remained an impossible dream on his budget. He knelt beside her, smoothing her dark hair. Maybe soon, princess. Really? You promise? The weight of parental hope and financial reality pressed against his chest. Seo-jin's offer echoed in his mind, not just the money, but something else. Behind her business-like exterior, he'd glimpsed loneliness that matched his own. 2 broken people who might help each other heal, even temporarily. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Take the weekend to decide. The offer stands. Seo-jin. That evening, after Ha-eun fell asleep, Jinwoo sat at his small desk grading papers. His students' essays about their dreams filled the margins. Trips around the world, fancy cars, houses with swimming pools. Simple wishes that seemed enormous when viewed through the lens of limited resources. He thought about Seo-jin's wheelchair, the way she'd maneuvered it with unconscious grace. Her accident had clearly been devastating, yet she'd built an empire from her hospital bed. That kind of determination deserved respect, even admiration. By Sunday night, his decision crystallized. Not just for the money, though Ha-eun's future security mattered immensely. Something about Seo-jin's carefully hidden vulnerability called to his protective instincts. Maybe they could help each other. A single father overwhelmed by responsibility and a successful woman isolated by circumstance. He typed his response. I accept your proposal. When do we begin? The law offices of Kim and Associates occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming downtown tower. Jinwoo felt underdressed in his best suit, purchased 5 years ago for job interviews, as he sat across from Seo-jin at a conference table that probably cost more than his annual salary. The contract is straightforward, Seo-jin explained, sliding a thick document across the polished surface. Marriage duration, 6 months minimum. Public appearances as needed, estimated twice monthly. Living arrangements separate unless circumstances require otherwise. Her lawyer, an impeccably dressed woman in her 50s, pointed to various clauses. Financial provisions include immediate payment of Mr. Park's outstanding medical debts, monthly allowance of 5 million won, plus coverage of all child-related expenses. Jin-woo scanned the numbers, his hands trembling slightly. The sum represented more money than he'd see in 3 years of teaching. This seems excessive. I don't do anything halfway, Seo-jin replied coolly. My reputation depends on authenticity. A husband who looks financially stressed would raise questions. Clause 15 covers media interaction, the lawyer continued. All interviews and public statements require prior approval. Clause 23 addresses termination conditions. Either party may end the arrangement with 30 days' notice, though financial obligations remain binding. Jin-woo flipped through pages of legal terminology, feeling increasingly out of his depth. What about Ha-eun? How do we explain this to her? For the first time that afternoon, Seo-jin's professional mask slipped. We tell her the truth, that sometimes adults make partnerships that help everyone involved. Children adapt more easily than we expect. Will she live with us? With you? My penthouse has guest rooms. She'll have her own space, access to better schools, opportunities I can provide. Seo-jin's voice softened almost imperceptibly. I may not know much about children, but I understand the importance of stability. Jin-woo signed his name with careful precision, each letter binding him to 6 months of pretending to love a woman who'd already admitted she didn't believe in fairy tales. Seo-jin's penthouse occupied the entire 42nd floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Seoul's sprawling landscape. Jin-woo stood in the marble foyer, Ha-eun's small hand clutched tightly in his, both of them staring at their new temporary home. It's like a palace, Ha-eun whispered, eyes wide with wonder. The space screamed expensive minimalism. White leather furniture, abstract art, technology seamlessly integrated into every surface. Everything looked untouchable, more like a museum than a home. Seo-jin appeared from the hallway, having changed from her business attire into casual pants and a soft sweater that made her seem more approachable. Ha-eun, would you like to see your room? She asked, her voice careful and unfamiliar with addressing children. The little girl nodded enthusiastically, releasing her father's hand to follow Seo-jin down a wide corridor. Jin-woo trailed behind, noting how his daughter's excitement seemed to ease some of the tension in Seo-jin's shoulders. The guest room had been transformed overnight. Pale pink walls, a bed with fluffy white comforters, and a desk positioned perfectly by the window. But what caught Ha-eun's attention was the easel in the corner, stocked with art supplies and fresh paper. For your drawings, Seo-jin explained quietly. I read that children need creative outlets. Ha-eun launched herself forward, wrapping her arms around Seo-jin's legs in an impulsive hug. Thank you. It's the most beautiful room ever. Seo-jin's hands hovered uncertainly before settling gently on the child's shoulders. Over Ha-eun's head, her eyes met Jin-woo's, vulnerability flickering across her features like candlelight. Your room is across the hall, she told Jin-woo. I hope you'll both be comfortable here. As Ha-eun explored her new space with delighted squeals, Jin-woo wondered if their contract had just become infinitely more complicated. The Aurora Tech Quarterly Gala represented Seoul's business elite at their most polished, designer gowns, expensive suits, and conversations worth millions conducted over champagne and canapes. Seo-jin sat at the head table in an elegant navy dress, Jin-woo beside her in a tailored tuxedo that transformed him from humble teacher to sophisticated partner. Remember, she murmured as photographers approached. We've been quietly dating for 8 months. Love at first sight, but we kept it private until we were certain. Jin-woo nodded, his hand finding hers naturally. And Ha-eun is the light of our lives and the reason we decided to build a family together. Her smile was perfectly calibrated for the cameras, but Jin-woo detected genuine warmth beneath the performance. Board members approached throughout the evening, their wives cooing over the romantic story Seo-jin had crafted. He swept me off my feet, she told Mrs. Huang, the chairman's spouse, while Jinwoo's thumb traced gentle circles on her palm. "And how do you find married life, Mr. Park?" Chairman Huang asked, his shrewd eyes assessing. "Seo-jin challenges me to be better every day," Jinwoo replied honestly. "She sees potential where I see limitations." The answer seemed to satisfy the older man, who nodded approvingly before moving on to other conversations. As the evening progressed, Jinwoo found himself genuinely enjoying the role, not the performance, but the partnership. Seo-jin was brilliant in social situations, her intelligence and wit making her magnetic to everyone around her. During a quiet moment between courses, she leaned closer to him. "You're doing well, very convincing." "Maybe because some of it isn't acting," he admitted quietly. Their eyes met across the small distance between them, and for a heartbeat, the noise of the gala faded into background static. Something real flickered in the space between performance and possibility. "Jinwoo," she began, but the moment shattered as someone approached their table, pulling them back into their carefully orchestrated charade. 3 weeks into their arrangement, unexpected routines had developed in the penthouse. Jinwoo woke early to prepare breakfast, a habit from single parenthood that Seo-jin initially protested but secretly appreciated. She emerged from her home office around 8, hair perfectly styled, ready to conquer corporate boardrooms. This morning, however, she found Ha-eun at the kitchen island, tears streaming down her cheeks as she struggled with mathematics homework. "I don't understand," the little girl wailed. "The numbers don't make sense." Jinwoo was in the shower, and Seo-jin found herself alone with a crying child for the first time in years. Her instinct was to call for help, but something in Ha-eun's frustrated expression reminded her of herself at 7, struggling with concepts that seemed impossible until someone explained them differently. "May I see?" Seo-jin asked softly, maneuvering her wheelchair closer to the island. Ha-eun slid the worksheet across the marble surface. 3rd grade multiplication, basic concepts that Seo-jin could solve in her sleep, but clearly overwhelming for a young mind. "Let's try something different," Seo-jin suggested. "What if we use your art supplies?" She gathered crayons and paper, drawing clusters of flowers. "If you draw 3 groups of 4 flowers each, how many flowers do you have total?" Ha-eun's face lit up with understanding as she counted the colorful blooms. 12? Exactly. 3 times 4 equals 12. Seo-jin smiled, the expression feeling more natural than it had in months. "Mathematics is just another way of seeing patterns, like in your drawings." Jinwoo appeared in the doorway, hair damp from his shower, watching the scene with wonder. His daughter and his contract wife bent over homework together, genuine connection replacing the careful politeness that had marked their interactions. "She's really smart," Ha-eun told her father proudly. "She made math into art!" Over the child's head, Jinwoo's grateful smile made Seo-jin's chest tight with unfamiliar warmth. The emergency call came during Seo-jin's most important board meeting of the quarter. Her assistant's voice was tight with worry. "Ha-eun collapsed at school. They're taking her to Seoul National Hospital." Seo-jin's world tilted. She'd known the child for less than a month, yet panic flooded her system with devastating clarity. "Cancel everything," she ordered, already gathering her belongings. "Clear my schedule for the rest of the day." She found Jinwoo in the hospital corridor, his face pale with the particular terror known only to parents facing their child's mortality. He looked lost, shoulders curved inward, as if protecting himself from unbearable possibilities. "Any news?" she asked, parking her wheelchair beside his chair. "They're running tests. Possible dehydration, maybe something more serious." His voice cracked. "I can't lose her, Seo-jin. She's all I have left." Without thinking, Seo-jin reached for his hand. His fingers were cold, trembling slightly. "She's strong. You've raised a fighter." Hours passed in antiseptic silence punctuated by the distant sounds of hospital life. Seo-jin made phone calls, using her connections to ensure Ha-eun received the best possible care. Jin-woo seemed surprised by her fierce advocacy, the way she transformed from composed CEO to protective force of nature. "Why are you doing this?" he asked during a quiet moment. "Because she matters," Seo-jin replied simply. "Because you both matter." When the doctor emerged with good news, exhaustion and mild dehydration, nothing that rest and fluids wouldn't cure, Jin-woo's relief was so profound, he nearly collapsed. Seo-jin caught his arm, steadying him, and realized that somewhere in the past month, this pretend family had become devastatingly real. Ha-eun's sleepy smile when they entered her room made Seo-jin's heart clench with emotions she'd thought lost forever in the twisted metal of her accident. "I knew you'd both come," the little girl whispered. "Families always come." Recovery meant Ha-eun staying home for a week, turning the pristine penthouse into something resembling an actual home. Blanket forts appeared in the living room, art supplies migrated to every surface, and the sound of childish laughter echoed off marble walls that had known only silence for years. Seo-jin found herself working from the dining table rather than her home office, drawn by the magnetic pull of domestic life unfolding around her. She watched Jin-woo read bedtime stories with theatrical voices that made Ha-eun giggle, helped with art projects that required very important business decisions about color choices, and discovered that having a family, even a temporary one, filled spaces in her soul she hadn't realized were empty. "Seo-jin, will you braid my hair?" Ha-eun asked one morning, climbing into her wheelchair with the casual intimacy of a child who'd claimed her as family. Seo-jin's hands trembled as she worked through the dark strands, muscle memory from her own childhood returning slowly. "Like this? Perfect. Now we look like sisters." The innocent declaration hit Seo-jin with unexpected force. When had she started wanting this to be real? When had the careful boundaries she'd constructed around her heart begun crumbling? That evening, after Ha-eun was asleep, she found Jin-woo on the balcony, staring out at Seoul's glittering skyline. "The contract," she began carefully. "We should discuss modifications." He turned, moonlight casting shadows across his worried features. "Are you unhappy with the arrangement?" "No, She struggled with words that seemed inadequate. "I'm questioning my own motivations. This was supposed to be business, but it's becoming something else." Jin-woo moved closer, his presence both comforting and dangerous to her carefully maintained emotional distance. "What if that's not a bad thing?" "I don't know how to be in a real relationship anymore, Jin-woo. The accident changed everything about how I see myself, how I move through the world." His hand found hers in the darkness. "Then maybe we figure it out together." The corporate scandal broke on a Tuesday morning, splashed across financial newspapers and trending on social media. Aurora Tech's biggest competitor had been engaging in illegal patent theft, and Seo-jin's company stood to benefit enormously from their downfall, if she could prove her own business practices were beyond reproach. The timing was devastating. Board members who had seemed convinced by her marriage narrative suddenly questioned everything, including the authenticity of her relationship with Jin-woo. Emergency meetings filled her calendar as lawyers and executives demanded transparency about her personal life. "They're questioning the timing," Chairman Huang explained during a tense conference call. "Your marriage coincided perfectly with our acquisition plans. Some board members suspect it's entirely fabricated." Seo-jin's blood ran cold. If the truth emerged, not only would her professional reputation be destroyed, but Jin-woo and Ha-eun would be dragged through a media circus that could devastate their quiet life. "What do they want?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Proof. Documentation of your relationship's history. Evidence that this isn't an elaborate business arrangement." That evening, she sat Jin-woo down and explained the situation. His face grew pale as he understood the implications, not just for their contract, but for Ha-eun's safety and stability. "We could end the arrangement now," Seo-jin offered quietly. "I'll take full responsibility, claim I misled you. You and Ha-eun can disappear from public scrutiny." Jin-woo was quiet for a long moment, processing the weight of their situation. "What do you want to do?" "I want to protect you both. I never intended for you to become collateral damage in my professional battles. That's not what I asked." His voice was gentle but firm. "What do you want, Seo-jin? Not as CEO, not as someone trying to protect others, but what do you personally want?" The question hung in the air between them, demanding honesty that she'd spent months avoiding. "I want this to be real," Seo-jin whispered, the admission scraping her throat raw. "I want to wake up every morning knowing you're both here by choice, not obligation. I want Ha-eun to call me something other than my name because she loves me, not because it's part of a contract." Jin-woo's eyes searched her face in the dim light of her home office, looking for deception and finding only vulnerability that made his chest ache. "I want to hold your hand because it makes me feel less alone in the world. Not because photographers are watching," she continued. "I want to fight for this company, not just because it's my legacy, but because I'm building something worthy of the family I never expected to find." He crossed the space between them slowly, kneeling beside her wheelchair so they were eye level. "Seo-jin, I know it's impossible. I know I'm damaged goods. That a man like you deserves someone whole, someone who can run alongside Ha-eun in the park or dance at her wedding someday." Tears she'd held back for weeks finally spilled over. "But I love you. I love both of you, and I don't know how to go back to pretending I don't." Jin-woo's hands cupped her face gently, thumbs brushing away tears. "You think you're broken? You're the strongest person I've ever met. You've built an empire, survived tragedy, and somehow found room in your carefully protected heart for a widowed teacher and his daughter. The board investigation. Let them investigate. They'll find what we know, that somewhere between fake smiles and contract clauses, we fell in love for real." His lips brushed hers softly, a kiss that tasted like coming home after years of wandering. When they broke apart, Ha-eun stood in the doorway, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Are you crying because you're happy?" she asked with the intuitive wisdom of children. "Yes, sweetheart," Seo-jin managed. "Very happy." "Good. I drew you another picture." "It's our family, but this time we're all holding hands." The board meeting that would determine Seo-jin's professional future took place in Aurora Tech's main conference room, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. Shareholders, executives, and media representatives filled every seat, their expressions ranging from skeptical to openly hostile. Chairman Huang called the session to order with grave formality. "We're here to address questions regarding CEO Min Seo-jin's recent marriage and its potential impact on company integrity." Seo-jin sat at the head of the table, Jin-woo beside her in a show of unified strength. She'd prepared extensively for this moment, gathering documentation of their relationship's progression, but she knew the real test would be their testimony under pressure. "Mr. Park," board member Lee addressed Jin-woo directly, "can you explain how a public school teacher came to marry one of Seoul's wealthiest women?" Jin-woo's voice was steady, confident. "I fell in love with a woman who saw past my financial limitations to the man I am underneath. Seo-jin didn't choose me despite my circumstances. She chose me because of who I am as a father, as a partner, as someone who values family above material success. And you expect us to believe this relationship developed naturally, not as a business arrangement?" "Love rarely follows logical timelines," Seo-jin interjected. "Yes, our courtship was brief, but when you find someone who complements your weaknesses with their strengths, hesitation becomes foolishness." Questions continued for over an hour, probing every aspect of their relationship. Through it all, Jinwoo remained unshaken, his answers revealing genuine knowledge of Seo-jin's habits, preferences, and character that couldn't be fabricated. When Chairman Huang finally called for a recess, the mood in the room had shifted perceptibly. Skepticism had given way to something approaching acceptance, even admiration for their partnership. "Whatever happens," Jinwoo murmured as they waited for the final decision, "we face it together." Seo-jin squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his unwavering support. Together, they were stronger than either had been alone. 6 months later, Seo-jin stood in the same penthouse that had once felt like a museum, watching Ha-eun arrange flowers in a vase on the dining table. The space had transformed completely. Children's artwork adorned the walls, family photos claimed space on previously empty shelves, and the sound of laughter had replaced sterile silence. The board had ultimately voted to maintain confidence in her leadership, swayed by evidence of authentic love and Jinwoo's compelling testimony. Aurora Tech's acquisition had proceeded successfully, making the company one of Seoul's most profitable technology firms. But professional success paled beside personal happiness. Jinwoo appeared from the kitchen carrying a birthday cake, candles flickering in the afternoon light streaming through tall windows. Today marked Ha-eun's 8th birthday, but also their first family celebration as a genuine unit rather than contracted arrangement. "Make a wish, princess," Jinwoo encouraged, as Ha-eun leaned over the candles. "I wish we could stay together forever and ever," the little girl declared before blowing out the flames. Seo-jin felt tears prick her eyes. The contract that had brought them together had expired months ago, but they'd chosen to remain bound by something stronger, love that had grown from necessity into choice. "What are you thinking about?" Jinwoo asked later as they cleaned up wrapping paper and cake crumbs. "How wrong I was about fairy tales," Seo-jin admitted. "I spent so long believing they were impossible that I almost missed living one." He wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. "So what happens now, CEO Min Park?" She leaned back against his warmth, watching Ha-eun play with her new art set. "Now we write our own story, one chapter at a time." Outside, Seoul's skyline glittered with possibility, but inside their transformed home, 3 hearts beat in perfect synchronization. A family forged not by circumstance, but by choice, love, and the courage to believe in second chances.